तुम काम 19 करोगे चलेगा, इंसान 20 बनने वाले हो.
जो दिखता है वो बिकता है.
So when you look at employability, yes, people have issues because we wanted to work on something where we create a sense of responsibility.
Who annoys you more, Aditya Shah or Dipen Gadia?
On the top of my mind, yes.
We are delighted to host a very esteemed guest on our show today, Dr. Bushra Kureshi Khan. She is the director of HLCC MUN Society as well as a faculty in Karnavati University. With a doctorate in management, Bushra ma'am brings wealth of knowledge and perspective to her roles, fostering upon the design thinking, storytelling, and strategy. She has also presented research papers and case studies in very well-known conferences, as well as some cream institutions like IIM Ahmedabad. Her dedication towards education and community engagement makes her a true asset in building, fostering future leaders, and also bringing a good, positive societal change. Bushra ma'am, we welcome you to the podcast.
Thank you, Rohan.
How have you been?
I've been good.
So, how's it going? I mean, it's the 10th edition of HLCC MUN. It began in 2013, I guess, as the first MUN conference in Gujarat. And today, when we see HLCC MUN as the largest conference in the state, how do you feel being one of the founding members of this conference?
To be very honest, Rohan, it comes out as a matter of fact that, it's over the years now, it's been one, we started in 2013. It's been immense amount of love that we've got over the timeline with the delegates, connecting across with the students from different colleges and schools. So yes, it's been a long journey, and much awaited is the 10th edition, where we hope we reach a good number of target students, where we outreach our expectations also this year. So yes, we're very happy, very delighted to looking forward towards the 10th edition.
So ma'am, I had a question that what has been your most memorable experience over these years?
When you look at the memories, I do not know if they were the targets of reaching the numbers that we have every year, or was it getting to the right kind of sponsors, or managing the event. Majorly it was about connecting with the organizing members. The team efforts that we had over the years now are things that we cherish as our memories, and to be connected in terms of good networking with the school and college students. So yes, if I have to pin down certain set of ideas, the major aspect was connecting with my organizing committee members of each and every year.
Okay, that's good. So ma'am, before we dive into the journey of HLCC MUN, I wanted to know that how did the idea of organizing something like a Model United Nations conference come up?
So it started back in 2013, where a bunch of college students, probably 5-7 of them, were working on these ideas. One of the founding members was Susan Pinto, who was the Secretary General back then as well, and she had this vision, which was a shared vision by everybody, that we wanted to work on something where we create a sense of responsibility among the younger generations to be empowered to work upon a shared vision and come up with the ideas of debating discussions, which is to a greater level to the UN. So yes, it was a shared vision by some 5-7 bunch of people together.
That's very great, because it was something unique in the Gujarat, and as we know that HLCC MUN is the first Modern United Nations conference. So yeah, definitely a very great idea. So ma'am, like HLCC MUN began in 2013, right? But HLCC MUN Society as an organization, it was formed in 2018. So like, what was the idea behind forming such a concrete society?
So one, Rohan, as the generations passed by, it was almost 5 years that we were into conducting MUNs, and that was the 5th edition. One of the major reasons we thought of coming up with a MUN society was that, that gives a certain amount of credibility to the people to put their investment in terms of their time, and we could also have a shared vision working out with the people outside as well. So major idea was gaining the amount of credibility and gaining attraction to the idea as well, that there's something concrete that is working towards something like this, and it is not just another college event for another colleges as well.
Yes.
So that was something that was a shared vision by a lot of people, that we wanted to work on something which gains credibility for a longer term.
Also, I think that when there is a certain sort of society, it keeps people connected or binded by the purpose of the organization or something like that. So yeah, definitely, I think that's a very good idea. Also, I mean, when we go back to 2013, so HLCC MUN started with 70 delegates, and last year it was the ninth edition. We crossed more than 780 delegate mark. And also, we usually organize mock MUN editions every year where we bring 300 to 350 odd delegates, which is literally like a dream for many private conferences happening in Gujarat. So, what went right actually? And what do you think played a very important role in bringing this sheer consistency and growth in the HLCC MUN?
What went right? When we look at that particular aspect, I don't think we were always behind numbers, or rather we were any other quintessential MUN conference where we wanted to just get numbers and get done with. Our idea was majorly focusing upon the space where something as simple as if there's some delegate working for a shared vision of understanding something, being empowered, learning debating skills, negotiating. So our idea was also that we conducted a lot of school orientations, where via those orientations we were conducting training sessions for these students, where they were also learning the ideas and skills of debating across with so many people around. And when you look at the other set of side, we were also looking at the idea of something as simple as basic as teaching management, administration to our organizing committee members. So yes, when I talk about what went right, was the idea that there was one major motivation of giving rather than receiving something from the other end. So yes, we were majorly looking at the idea of training our organizing committee members or training delegates, and that was the major goal. So yes, I think that was one honest vision which went right for us over the long term.
Ma'am, you very well mentioned the word giving to the people, giving to the society. I think a very integral part of HLCC MUN society has been to work on the purpose of empowering the youth. That has been the major motive. And as you are a strict disciplinarian by the nature, how important is it for an organization to work for a certain purpose or to have certain sort of core values? And how has it helped HLCC MUN to thrive over the years?
Definitely, core values is something that both me and for sure, if you have a chat with Professor Barucha as well, we've all thought about one major idea as to these core values are something that will keep us grounded, humble, are those spaces which want people to move forward with. So we've worked together. I've worked with so many sets of students across for all these 9 editions. Majorly, the idea was to tell them that if you work with honesty, if you work attain some amount of other skills as well, but what are you moving out from the organization as a human being, right? If I can say in a very simple language, तुम काम 19 करोगे चलेगा, इंसान 20 बनने वाले हो, as Zakir Khan says, right? So when you talk about the idea of human values or core values, that is something of an utmost importance, is what I feel.
Yes, ma'am. Also, like we see a lot of people organizing modern United Nations conferences, debate conferences, or even beginning their own startup or organization. So, as you are an expert at management and strategy, what pieces of advice would you like to give to such management enthusiasts?
So if we bring in a pedagogy or curriculum which talks about probably, connecting people, networking, one, yes, beyond the traditional methods of teaching or the traditional methods of management or administration, if we bring people across to the ideas of maybe an experiential learning, or learning which is going beyond classroom. So whenever we used to conduct training programs, the training programs also used to happen at on the ground as well, something like that. So when we are teaching people to work beyond the spaces of a confined space that is there, I think they tend to learn a lot more better. So when you bring in administration, when you bring in management, if you're teaching a management topic, right, and if you're connecting that with some particular real life case or an industry, or if you're taking them for an industrial visit, or you're taking them for an experiential learning trip, I think they learn a lot more better, they focus a lot more better, and that is something that the current generation grasp a lot more well. So yes, going beyond the methods of traditional is what conventional setups we want to get into.
Okay, so like if we have to conclude this this particular question, then like if a person is organizing a Modern United Nations conference, what sort of practical method they can adopt in order to build a very fruitful conference to the delegates as well, to the participants as well, and to the overall organizing committee as well.
So what goes around fruitful is that, as organizing committee members, there are secretary generals, there are director generals. If those sets of people are sitting together and working with the organizing committee members, guiding them throughout as to, if this is not working, maybe we'll try something else, backing them up time and again as to what they're understanding, what ideas they're coming up with, if they're right or wrong. So when you are there for the people who are working with you, when you're just a phone call away for something or the other, I think that is something which will work out well for people. So just do not treat it as a regular conference. Treat it with the idea of connecting with people, staying in touch with them for a longer term, maybe, guiding them, mentoring them post they've gone beyond college as well. I think that is something, that human touch is something which is really, really important and fruitful when it comes to, conducting these sets of conferences for 9 years now.
Okay, so basically we should try to give more than what the normal set of things there are, and
Definitely.
we should try to deliver more. So that is, we should be on the deficit side. I mean, the participant should be on the surplus side. That's what we should aim for, because I think it's more about giving rather than receiving. And
Yeah, definitely. So when you look at the idea of more giving, I think you are not on the deficit end, to be very honest.
Absolutely.
You are earning a lot more better in terms of the connect, in
Yeah.
terms of the affection that the
Yes.
students are giving you, in terms of them being your mentees for a longer term. I mean, when you look at those things, there are people now, the students that I've worked with are across all over the world, and they still text you sometime that, okay, this is something that I really liked about you, I want to have a chat with you, or things like that. So you really gain a long-term friendship, which I think is a lot more rare these days. So yes, you might feel that you're on the deficit side of it in the initial phase,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's a win-win situation.
Definitely, totally agree. So, we all know that there are always ups and downs in an organization. While HLCC MUN has definitely achieved many feats, I'm pretty sure that we must have gone through some tough times. So, what, according to you, has been the most challenging phase in this HLCC MUN over the 10 years, and how did you overcome it?
I think, Rohan, every year there was something or the other which turns out to be challenging. You can't per se put up the idea, okay, this year was bad or this year was challenging for us. Yes, every year was something or the other in terms of the different kind of challenges that we had. But yes, as I talked about the shared vision that we had, we all used to work together in terms of overcoming those challenges. Attracting new delegates becomes a challenge sometimes, or maybe sometimes handling an organization becomes a challenge. So you never know what new is coming up on your platter with any particular edition. But yes, I feel if you're building up a bigger table than a taller fence, is something that brings you overcome those spaces, which means getting more and more people on your side, working with them, making them understand to work towards a shared vision is something which will work out in the longer game.
So basically, involving people more in the building, in the community building, rather than just keeping them aside or just external to the organization.
Definitely, if
Yes.
you're working with people, I mean, I guess one of the good leaders are those sets of people who work alongside with their organizing committee members or with their delegates, who knows that, okay, this is the know-how that is happening, and then you have a shared vision on to working on something better. So yes, as I said, bringing up a bigger table is always a win-win situation.
Yeah, and adding upon to you, like हमने भी ऐसा एक कहावत सुनी है that leader is someone के सामने वालों को पता नहीं चलता who is actually the one leading. It's the whole team that's doing the work, and in the end, that's what matters in the organization.
Definitely, Rohan.
Yeah.
So even if you look at the past 9 editions now, there are so many sets of people who've gone past in terms of being the Sec Gen or the Director General. So
Yeah.
post hardly really do
Yes.
matter. It is the kind of people that you're working with. It is the kind of shared vision that you have, and all in all, it is getting in touch with those people even post these conferences are gone by. So yes.
Yeah, definitely. So, ma'am, as HLCC MUN Society is celebrating the 10th edition of HLCC MUN this year, so what's the way forward? Like, what are the goals that you envision for this society or for this conference?
Really don't know in terms of long-term goals, because I don't think we ever had a long-term goal in terms of editions. We always had a long-term goal of empowering people. So in whatever which ways we can, we were always trying to work on those particular areas. So yes, in terms of long-term goals, we don't know, but yes, we've reached the 10th edition, so might as well we'll reach the 25th edition as well. You never know.
Yes.
But yes, the idea is to make sure that with every year, the shorter goals are what we are achieving. With each and every year, what are the kind of people that we're connecting with, what are the kind of new innovative methods we are coming up with. So yes, it is smaller goals rather than a larger goal to achieve what we want to.
But ma'am, I would like to highlight that in this edition we have especially focused more on giving. Like for example, we launched the Empower initiative last year, and we have been trying to create more impact this time. So like, what are your thoughts on that?
So yeah, the idea, as I said, is more and more connecting on what other sets of spaces are we working with, what new initiatives are we targeting, are those initiatives working out well for the people or not. So yes, I feel a common feedback every time is of a lot more importance. So okay, maybe this thing didn't work well. So what were the sets of issues? What you analyze those sets of ideas. So when you start getting a lot more feedbacks or criticisms rather, you get to know that okay, this is not working, this is working. So probably making a statistical analysis out of it and then making the way forward is what is the right thing probably.
Definitely. So, ma'am, you have also taught at various taught management at various well-known institutions like HLCC, Ahmedabad University, Nirma University, and many more. We know today that many management graduates aren't really employable because they lack adequate skills which are essential for employment or for the job. So, how do you approach this problem in your pedagogy, and what changes do you wish in our current education system?
Yeah. So as I said, one thing that can really work is probably moving on from a traditional to a conventional setup of teaching. So if I tell you that I'm teaching 60 hours in the same particular classroom, that might not work for the current generation. That used to work for people prior, because that was the thing that they were getting into. Now when you look at the sets of ideas of working with people in a conventional setup, which is rather taking a classroom probably outside, or maybe taking a classroom at some museum someday, or to an industry trip. So I think that is something which will make courses a lot more engaging, which will make pedagogy a lot more engaging, and that will make it work. So when you look at employability, yes, people have issues because their personalities are not developed. They do not have the right kind of communication skills. So if we start including these things at the school level, probably that will help them out by the timeline they get into college. They get into understanding what fields do they want to get into, what is the space that they want or look at in terms of their future spaces. So yes, converting a traditional setup to a conventional setup is, I feel, what might work for the current generation.
Ma'am, you very well mentioned the importance of communication skills, or we can say soft skills, in building a personality and making them more have a wider perspective. So, according to you, in the current scenario, what are the 3 soft skills that you believe are of utmost importance for an individual, irrespective of whichever field they are, and how can they develop them?
So yes, one of the top soft skills that they need to have is communication. Good communication will get them into good public speakers, right? If they are into good public speaking spaces, they'll understand how debating works, how the debating culture works. They participate into events like these. They try and understand, network with people. So one thing will lead to the other. When you network with people, that goes on to the third step of community building, right? So when you're understanding these spaces, you'll get and connect with more and more people. That brings you to the idea of understanding stories as well. I meet a new person, I get to know a new story about them. So while I'm communicating, that is one of the major spaces of understanding a new set of audience as well. So yes, communication which leads to a networking which leads to a community building.
Yeah, very well put in. So when we go on improving our communication skills and we go on networking, I think very integral part of building such skill is storytelling. So I think, like, as we are very familiar with the phrase "जो दिखता है वो बिकता है." So how important is it for a person to develop the skill of storytelling? And like, as you have some sort of experience in that, so what kind of advice would you like to give to someone who want to improve the skill of storytelling?
So when we talk about storytelling, Rohan, we've all been raised as in a setup where there were storytellers, right? If we talk about our parents, they were storytellers. If we
Yeah.
talk about our grandparents, they were storytellers. So I don't know what new people are looking forward in terms of stories, but yes, when we look at storytelling as one of the major platforms, storytelling is one thing. As you said, jo dikhta hai wo bikhta hai types. When you look at the idea of presenting something from the start to the middle and there's an end, people nowadays need closure. You look at a particular movie, if you do not get closure, you're not interested, right? So when you talk to people, there's something new that you've understood. So let's assume I've had a conversation with you, I've chit chatted, I've learned something new today, and I might bring that on the table tomorrow to somebody else, right? So connecting with people will connect you to more and more stories, but you will also have to adapt to the new methods that they are working on with. So you'll have to be a lot more receptive and understanding, be a good listener. When you're a good listener, you'll adapt to a lot more new methodology as well, right? So yes, storytelling then becomes one of the major platforms for people to understand, which then ideates into brand storytelling.
Yeah.
So we teach students courses like brand storytelling or storytelling into these creative platforms, but we tend to forget and understand that there are people around us, there are stories around us which we tend to forget. So yeah.
So basically, it's not about storytelling. It's about first listening to other people's perspective, or getting to know your environment so that you can build your own story thereafter.
Definitely, yes.
Okay. So, ma'am, that brings to end of this segment. We have another segment lined up for you. That is the rapid fire segment.
Okay.
So I'll shoot the questions and you have to quickly answer them.
Okay, I'll try.
Yeah. So let's begin it. First question is, what's the one word that comes to your mind when you first hear the word HLCC MUN?
That's love.
Okay. Second question, where do you see yourself in the upcoming 5 years?
As a better academician for sure.
Next question, one book that you would like to recommend to the management enthusiasts?
Lean startup.
Okay, good. Next question, if you're not a professor, what would you be?
I am already an entrepreneur.
So, what made you think of starting your own brand?
So the idea, as we talk about shared visions, was one of the shared vision that both me and my husband have, which is connecting people with culture. So making people connect with traditional forms and formats, which made us start up with connecting with our artisans and starting this brand called Ayat, which is related to silver jewelry. So yes, we then started on working on the variety of people, storytelling formats through the idea of storytelling with a particular jewelry product.
Okay.
So that is how we came up with the brand name.
Wow, very unique.
Thank you.
Okay. Next one, which topic would you like to be interested in researching about, like in the current scenario?
Which is augmented reality and visual reality.
Okay. And we also got to know that you run a food blog page called Project Binge.
Yeah.
So I need to ask you this. Okay. According to you, which are the most must-visit cafes in Ahmedabad? Name 3 of them, and also mention the most favorite thing you like in those cafes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is very quick, rapid. The top and all, if you go to Sandwich Works, they have the best waffles ever and pancakes. I mean, you might not regret going there for a breakfast. The second one is you go to Food Inn for a good non-veg platter, good chicken platter as well. And the third one is you go to Mirch Masala, good stuff for eating. But the last thing is you have to go there for their jalebis.
Mirch masala, good one. And last and my most favorite one, who annoys you more, Aditya Shah or Dipen Gadia?
It's Rohan Shekhwani. On the top of my mind, yes.
So that brings end to our podcast. Bushra ma'am, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Rohan.
And giving us some valuable management insights. It was a pleasure to know more about HLCC MUN from the director herself. And thank you, ma'am, for giving us time.
Thank you, Rohan. It was a delight.
And yeah, we have a token of appreciation from HLCC MUN Society that we would like to give to the director herself.
Thank you, Rohan.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed.